Welcome to RCC Talk. Today I'm with Sharon Galloway and Mark Cridge, and we are going to continue with our Workforce Solution series. So, welcome again, Sharon and
Thank
Mark.
you.
Sharon, once again, we're just going to do some introduction for our newer viewers. So tell us a little bit about your program.
I'm Sharon Galloway, and I am the director for HRD and CRC. HRD stands for Human Resource Development, and CRC stands for Career Readiness Certification here at the college. So what I do is coordinate classes that are free for job seekers, anybody that's unemployed, underemployed, received a notice of a layoff, and of course seeking employment.
Okay, thank you. And Mark.
Yes.
Let us know a little bit about what your program is at Goodwill.
Yes, I'm with the Goodwill Career Center in Reidsville. I'm the coordinator there, and basically stay abreast of what's going on with the community as far as employers, what they're hiring for, and try to match that with needs of our individuals served. So we provide all types of service, everything from helping write a resume to point them in the direction for skills classes, to running skills classes, to setting up interviews for our partners. So it's a pretty broad spectrum, but it's all about helping people find work.
Okay, wonderful. So we discussed the last few segments, the job application process. So we talked about the job description, when that applicant get that description, complete the application, which can be either at the company or at Goodwill, or they can complete the application online. And then we also covered the resume and cover letter, which that is submitted online as well. Talked a little bit about the social media aspect of this job process and some of the things applicants should be aware of as far as what's on their social page. And now today, our last topic for this series, preparing for the interview. What to do or what not to do. So that might be a loaded segment we're going to be we're going to be talking about today, because you want the applicant to be successful and be prepared for this interview once they receive that phone call. So between both of you, where would you like to start on what that applicant should do to prepare for their interview?
I think that one thing that I would suggest an individual to do is to create you a checkoff list, like a pre-interview checkoff sheet, where you actually make sure that you have the proper attire that you need for the job position you're applying for. Make sure you have your resume up to date, of course, and have copies of your resume. Make sure you've went and found the location in advance, so you won't be the day of trying to get there, beat traffic, and it may cause you to be a little late. There are a lot of different things that you could do. Make sure that you just have a plain folder to put all your documents in. You don't need anything fancy. You just don't want to go in there with loose leaf paper. So just kind of creating you a checkoff list is a great starting point to kind of get this process going, to be better prepared for it. So,
how early should they arrive?
Typically, you should arrive 10 to 15, no more than 10 to 15 minutes early when you're going for an interview.
Okay.
Now, if it's more than 15 minutes early, it appears to be almost a desperation type of thing. So that's the best planning. And that way, anything that you come up against, slow traffic, a bus, an accident, you've got time to get around and not be stressed out about getting there.
Okay.
One of the things, too, that I think that Sharon pointed out was the getting your attire together. Not every interview is going to require a suit and a tie, but try to dress appropriate for the interview. Also, part of the checklist, I think you should do a little research on the company and the position that you're going for. I know we spoke about that a little bit, but make sure that you look at the company's job description, get to know what they're talking about, read their core mission, their core values and their mission, so you can kind of talk to them in their language.
Right.
Because each company is going to have the core mission, the core values, those principles that drive them. So If you can respond to a question that a company gives you in their verbiage, they know you've done the homework.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with that being said, I think that along with being prepared, you also need to create you a list of questions to kind of practice, and then have someone to kind of sit with you to go over those questions, sort of like a mock interview. One of the main questions that a lot of employers ask is, tell me a little bit about yourself, and what does that actually mean? So you don't want to be too detailed where you give a lot of personal information, but you definitely want your experience and your interest to show what's detailed in the job description. That lets them know that you, one, researched the company, found out some information like Mark stated, and that you are, you're definitely, you value what they offer and you're interested in what the position is. So.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the tell me about yourself is really about 30 to 45 seconds. The way I describe it is to imagine you're going to the interview and you're in the elevator with the owner of the company by themselves going to the 5th floor. You've got to fill that 30 to 45 seconds with information about the skill set you have, the personality that you can bring to the table, how you get along with coworkers, how you can resolve conflict. You want to try to wrap all of that stuff into there, because you wouldn't have the interview probably if you didn't have the hard skills.
Right.
But you need to, this glorious term called the soft skills is really about how you get along with your coworkers, how you get along to management requests, how you can resolve conflict without it being, time management, for instance, being one where you don't call out of work for a whole day because you have a flat tire.
Right.
You call and let them know you've got a flat tire and you're going to be 10 minutes late. But time management is a big part of the soft skills. So anything you can wrap into that elevator speech that says who you are, business related, not necessarily parentally or faith wise, but really try to keep it oriented towards the company, I think is a good point that Sharon made there too.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Mark, Sharon as well, you chime in. When should parents stop calling in to let the employer know or the HR manager know that their adult child won't be able to make it to work on time or make it to work at all? Should a parent even play that role at all?
No.
I want this one. Parents, as soon as your child begins work, do not make the work calls for them. You can advise them, but let that person make the call. It's their job. It's not your job. It's the person's job. So they have to be responsible enough to make those calls, and you can help and guide them. But once they're working and someone's paying them, mom and dad really, even if you're a minor, mom and dad really, it's the relationship between the employer and that employee, not the mother and the employer,
Right.
employers,
Right.
or the father.
Right. Okay.
Did I cover that okay?
Yeah, that's about it.
So that is definitely the employee responsibility, and that shows that that person is accountable as well for their time management and their person overall.
Yes. Yes.
I figured y'all would like that question.
Yes,
so let's move back a little bit, and then we'll move forward. What about the making that first impression that, someone, that applicant is walking into the interview room? So they're making a 30-second impression as far as their appearance, behavior, and their attitude. So what about that appearance?
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think, like Mark said, you want to dress professionally, but you also want to understand and know the type of atmosphere that is at that location. It doesn't always take a suit and a tie, but nice khakis and a collar shirt or button down. It depends on the type of environment that you're in. I think for ladies, we don't want to get into all the jewelry, the dangling jewelry. That can be a easy distraction. We don't want to, of course, wear heels that we can't walk in. We don't want to wear wild nail polish or have long nails. Things that will easily distract.
Right.
You want to stay away from, even with your overall appearance. Of course, you want to have good, grooming, hair, nails, and face. I mean, I think a lot of people think, well, that's common sense. No, we've seen some different situations. So you don't want to have, even if you wear a skirt, it doesn't need to be real short.
Right.
Anything that kind of easily distract people. So
Right.
that's one thing to kind of think about when considering your appearance, your dress.
Right, personal hygiene is a good point too. You were tipping on that, and I'm going to step right into it. If you're a smoker, don't smoke a cigarette in the car on the way to the job interview, because you will go in smelling of it. And if that's a non-smoker sitting across from you, that one thing may cost you a job.
Yeah.
Also, perfumes, keep those to a minimum. Everyone likes to smell nice, but the best smell for a job interview is clean soap. It really is. It really is. Because you can send someone to an allergic reaction.
Right.
They wonder, wow, I was just going to have to, but just, stay away from the perfume bottle. If you have something, a very subtle scent,
Right.
that if you can smell it, it's too strong.
Right. Right.
So, and that's one of the, preparations on your hygiene side of things. And the parents you were talking about, how they enter the building, just realize that everyone along the step of the interview process is part of the interview process. So if you're checking in with someone at the front desk and then going to sit down, you're going to want to do that with manners and confidence, pleases and thank yous. You're also going to want to thank them for their time when you leave. You want to leave a good first impression, a good last impression on that person leaving. So walking in the building, you need to be confident, not cocky. But head upright, straightforward, good gait. Shake someone's hand. I'm here. My name's Mark Cridge. I'm here for the 3 o'clock interview. I know I'm about 10 to 15 minutes early. Just wanted to check in with you.
Right.
What's your name again? Thank you, Sally. And try to refer back to people's names especially when you get called back. If you can remember, hey, thank you, Sally. I appreciate your time today. When you're going back to the interview. But everyone along the process has a part in you getting hired, because when I got hired, they came out and asked, who did you like the best? And who made the best first impression? And I do that with my people. When I was in the restaurant business, my host was the first point of contact. And if someone acted very rude to that host, they were not going to get a job with me, because I was in a people business. You had to be customer focused. So
that's so true. I mean, all those points that you made, and actually, I really never thought about that. The receptionist and even maybe the maintenance person who makes sure that the building is clean. You want to acknowledge these folks, because they're in there doing their job and they are part of the company that you're wanting to work for. So that's a very good point, to acknowledge everyone, to speak to everyone, to be polite. Yes. So what about attitude? I mean, how can they reflect? And I guess they can reflect that they have a really good attitude as far as when they are engaging with the folks they're passing on going to the interview. So what else about attitude?
I think that you definitely want to show some enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to be overpowering. You want to have great eye contact with the individual, and you want to offer a firm handshake. Shake. You don't want to just barely touch them like you don't care to.
That little fish handshake.
Right. Yeah. So I think you definitely want to be friendly and respectful. Some of even in your tone of conversation, how you would address someone outside of job, you want to kind of be mindful of that to make sure you keep that very professional as well. So your attitude plays a big part. Even if you're having a bad day, shake it off, move on. Get it together before you go in there. Take a few deep breaths if you need to, because this is important. They're going to base this off of when they first look at you. Believe it or not, even when you come in and sit down and you're waiting on an interview, you never know. Like you said, different ones that pass by. You sitting there with that nervous energy, or you telling everybody to come by. Oh, I'm so nervous. You don't talk too much. So just have a great attitude, show some enthusiasm, because that's good. That's positive. But just make sure you're very friendly and respectful.
Okay. So what should they do? So we talked about that face to face. Okay, what should they do if if it's a telephone interview and or Skype interview, because a lot of companies are doing the Skype interview before they actually bring the candidate into the building. So
First thing is to get a quiet place.
okay.
Get a quiet place, get yourself away from noises, distractions, the TV's off, the kids are taken care of, because you want to give that your whole focus. It's might be one chance of getting on with a great company, so you really want to try to make sure you have wherever you're doing, if they can see your household is clean and picked up around it. There's no beer cans or anything sitting around in the viewing area. I'm serious, it's a small, little things, but and you really want to. You want to try to practice. There are some open-ended behavior type of questions that commonly get asked in the interview, like tell us about yourself. We all make mistakes. We wish we could have taken back. Tell me about a time where you made a mistake and how you made up for it. So you have to look up online and get some of these questions. We've got some of them, and you practice them in front of someone. Have them give you feedback. Look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing it, because a smile, people forget when they're in a stressed environment. They forget that smile. Yeah. And I tell my people on the phone also, you smile, you talk with a smile on your face, because people can hear a smile. And it's the same thing in an interview. You can't forget to smile, but because you're intense and you want to get this job, and you got to really be reflective of them. And the Skype interview and the telephone interview, they're harder because you don't really get to see someone's face and interact with them in that way, but same basics. If you can practice a little bit with someone, it helps a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes people, when they do the Skype interviews or the videos, they get too comfortable because they are in their own home, and you don't want to be that relaxed. You want to prepare yourself and dress just as if you were going to a face-to-face interview. So not just put on a top. And try, well, they're not going to see me, I'm not going to stand up. So that's just something to consider.
The first question is, would you please stand?
I know, right? That's right. Can you hold that thought for me?
Some technical difficulties.
So that's because that telephone Skype interview, the employer has already set up that anyway. They've given you the time that they're going to call. So there's no excuse for you not to be prepared. Just like you would when you are doing a face-to-face interview. Okay. So you all do mock interviews, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually have where we've allowed students to be in a class, and we just have very generic questions, and then we use a video recorder, and we re-record them. So then we play it back for them to allow them to see how they actually done. So, and a lot of students have been amazed, like, oh, I didn't even realize I said that, or I didn't realize I was doing that, because they were using their hands too much, or they were blinking their eyes too much, or just something, rocking in the chair a lot, because you have a lot of nervous energy, and some things you don't pay attention to, so that's why I always tell people, kind of keep your hands in your lap, and just focus on talking to that person, and you don't even want to move your head too much, because then
I know you do.
Yeah,
like
that's a habit that I have. So sometimes I have to kind of talk to myself, like, be still, and think about what they're saying to you. So it can be a little different. Applying for a job or interviewing for a job is a part-time job is a job within itself.
I agree.
So you definitely have to be prepared.
I still think the more you practice, the better you play, though.
Right.
And that's the thing. The mock interviews you do are great. We do the mock interviews too. There's all kinds of information online where you can get behavior-based questions specifically for different groups of employers. So the main thing is practicing, having someone give you feedback. That's perfect, because you're right.
Yeah.
You'll be doing this, or they'll get a nervous tick going, and it's great.
Well, you can look at those YouTube videos as well, some of the professional YouTube videos on interviewing skills that can help a applicant to prepare for those interviews.
Yeah.
Would
if
you
they
agree?
don't have
Yeah.
anybody to practice with them, that would be
Yeah.
something good.
Well, look at those, and then also have someone to practice. Get some samples.
Yeah, record yourself in your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
Just listen to yourself. Listen to how
Yeah.
you're doing, because you want to be confident. You don't want to be too overly confident. You want to, but you want to be practiced, and it's okay to take a second to reflect on a question.
Yes.
It's better to take a second and go, that's a great question. I've never been asked that before. While you're getting it together up here, than to just start rattling something off. It's better to kind of think your thoughts through, and but always remember to try to answer that question. Get back to answering the question. So many times someone will start answering a question and they'll go off course of the question.
Right.
So,
Right.
It helps sometimes if you even need to repeat the question
Yeah.
or ask them to repeat the question, because when they do ask you a two-part or three-part question, you want to make sure you answer every question that they've presented to you. So sometimes you may have to say, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I address that last point. If you don't mind, can you tell me what that last question was again?
you can even take a notebook
Right.
with you or jot
I
that
highly
down.
encourage people to take paper with them, pen and paper. You want to take black ink pens and paper with you, because you want to make sure that you write down some questions to ask them in the end. But it's okay to ask them in the initial beginning of the interview, is it okay if I take notes? Because then that shows that you're interested in the company as well.
Right.
And it kind of helps you stay up to par, with what they're asking. You kind of jot down some things to kind of bring back to your memories, because it may help you to kind of develop some questions, because you are going to be working there. You want to have a career there. So
Right.
you want to make sure you get as much information as you can. So.
Well, interviewing, how can employers make that applicant feel comfortable? I mean, is that feasible to make them, to bring some of that nervousness down, or that just really doesn't make any
It depends on the individual, actually, because I've worked with some people that like putting people on a hot seat to see how they react, and I've worked with others that it just means everything in the world to them for the people to be comfortable. So it really just depends
on that person?
I've actually worked with a person who, when he did an interview, he would slouch like this on the interview to see if that person would reflect their behavior, and if they reflected his slouchiness, he cut them. He wouldn't hire them. So, I mean, you have to be careful of reflecting their behavior, but if they slouch, don't you slouch. You stay up straight still. Relax, but straight, Hands down there, not up here where you can fidget.
Right.
But, yeah, if they're leaned into the table like this, it's probably not a great idea for you to get leaned into the table, but you can still be reflective of them, and, it's fun. It's really just whatever that interviewer, however they get through the people to find what they think is important.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
It makes plenty of sense. And what about you, Sharon? You have any idea on how to make that applicant feel comfortable, or does that even matter?
Sometimes I think employers like to see that different side of an employee, that personable side of them. Depends on the type of job they're applying for. If it's something with customer service, then they may be a little bit more comfortable versus something in a manufacturing company, a machine, because you don't really have all those, use all those communications,
Right.
just other than your team,
Right. Right.
So it just depends on the type of job you're applying for. I've seen or heard of both, where they just, I love that. I like to find out what they're doing. It interests me that, that they were involved in so many different things in the community. So I've seen both sides of it.
Okay. With the job description that the employer bring into the interview process, do you all think that, what if the employer goes sort of off script from that job description? How should that, depending on, I don't know what type of question they might ask, but it's sort of off script then from the job description. What should the applicant
do to kind of bring them back
yeah.
together? So I would suggest, if it appears that it's something that you're not familiar with because you have studied and researched and found that, then I would even try to turn that negative into a positive.
Right.
And say, I'm not too familiar with that, but that sounds very interesting. And if it's anything that you have done in your past that can relate to it, kind of mention it, because you never know what it could do for you, what it could add for you. So.
Yeah, it could be a feeler for a higher compensated possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: should before the applicant go into the interview, and they might know, maybe they'll know someone in the company, or even if they go on to, I think you can go on to Glassdoor to look at what some employees are saying about the company. Is that a good idea, just to have a even better feel for working in that particular company?
It can and it cannot be.
Okay.
Now, you think about this. The most people that are going to get on Glassdoor and say things about the company are probably going to be disgruntled employees.
Okay.
So I would say 60 to 80% of the comments that are negative are someone that's no longer working there.
Right.
And then if you look at the others, there may be some managers getting on there to make great comments about their company to attract people. So I think it really comes down to, if you know someone personally that works there, yes, but the Glassdoor will give you a very broad, sweeping, general view, but know that they're all different types of people in the workplace.
Okay.
Some people may not have your work ethic. They may think that they were fired unfairly because they showed up to work late 6 days in a row, and that was terrible place to work
Right.
for. So you just have to weigh out those comments. If it comes to the way that management treats people and stuff like that, I'd say there's validity there, because people do have a feel part of it. So if they say that the management belittles their employees or something like that, that's probably pretty close.
Okay.
Does that make? Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, before we get to our announcement and end this segment, so they should, at the end of the interview, definitely they want to ask questions.
Yes.
Have those prepared beforehand to ask at the end.
The don'ts.
The don'ts.
Don'ts.
Can you give me two?
You want to go first?
I have so many. Well, you go ahead.
Yeah. Don't ask directly about the pay.
Okay.
And don't ask what kind of benefits you get.
Okay.
Let that come with, because they're probably doing multiple interviews and they're going to make a decision. So you could even comment and saying, I'm not going to bother asking you about that, because if you want to pursue me as an employee, I'm sure you'll divulge that information.
Right. Okay.
But try to ask something more along the lines of how do they measure the fact that they are actually achieving their mission statement,
Okay.
and then be able to quote their mission statement. What types of measures are there? What do you consider to be success? What is the average time frame that it may take someone to earn promotions based on?
Right.
More specific questions about how you can be of value to the company,
An asset,
and
yeah.
then get maybe
Get
more
up.
compensation or moving up, but more along the lines of something where you're wanting to step up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the sake of time, I'm just going to add, never talk bad about a previous employee.
Oh, definitely.
Never talk bad about a previous employee.
Yeah.
Or any work situations that you've had in the past. And then as moving forward, I would just say make sure you follow up. Make sure you send a thank you,
Okay.
thanking them for their time with an interview, and that you're looking forward to hearing from them. So make sure you get that thank you note out to them at the end.
Email's great, but I tell you what, a tactile card really makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Send it through the mail, huh?
Yeah.
Old school.
Old school.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've come to the end of this segment. What we have coming up, May 14th, is the application deadline for summer registrations. Students can also register for the fall as well. Just call the administration office and start the application process. May the 11th, the graduates, we will be having graduation. Congratulations to all our RCC graduates. And that's May the 11th at 10 a.m. Our continuing education summer 2018 booklet is out. So please pick up. Well, they're in the mail, so the residents of Rockingham County should have the book also. So be ready to. We're expecting you here on campus. So please register for the class. The classes that we have. Also, you can go online to look at our brochure. All you have to do is go to our webpage, click on the academic tab, and then click on catalog. Save these dates, please. April the 26th, we have our Career Expo. So we have over 35 businesses and industry that's going to be participating in the, it's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be in the gym, RCC gym. These are the classes that we're going to have in May. We have the National Career Readiness Certificate. You can call Sharon Galloway and register for that class now through May the 31st. We have the Nurse Aid Refresher from May 2nd through the 10th. We have the Home Fruit Production May 19th through June the 16th. And we also have the Welding Safety and Basic class May 16th through July the 25th. So we have a lot going on at Rockingham Community College, Eagle Pride. So we look forward to the residents of Rockingham County on our campus taking these classes, expanding and enhancing your career, and your just taking personal classes as well. So thank you once again. Thank you, Sharon Galloway. Thank you, Mark Craig,
Pleasure.
for being our guest today. Thank you.